So I thought since we have done a lot of discussion about the BRD document drafted by Ministry of Electronics and IT, giving some broad guidelines of what kind of consent management is expected out of the upcoming finalization of DPDP Act, I thought before wrapping it up completely, let's summarize what all has been covered and what all has been included in this document in these two videos. So let's talk about the initial things in the first video. Welcome to my YouTube channel where you daily see new content on data privacy. Today, as I said, we are going to talk about a few of the things covered under the document, and we'll continue that in the next video tomorrow. So, what are the actors that have been defined or redesigned or revisited in this document? We've talked about data principle, the individual whose data is being processed, personal information is being processed. We've talked about fiduciary, the organization that is processing the personal information, and processing includes collecting, using, storing, deleting, and third party sharing personal information of any citizen of India in digital format. Collected may be manually, but digitized. The consent manager, the key focus of this document, and the registries, which are expected to be interoperable between consent managers now and forever, so that consents can be shared across multiple applications, multiple business units, and if required, make them portable later on. So, how do they interact with each other is another thing through the APIs that we spoke about. As key artifacts that need to be there as a part of consent management journey for any fiduciary, the unique ID of the consent is something which is one important thing. The timestamps related to consent in terms of consent taken, consent revoked, reconsent in situations of a consent getting expired and you asking for consent again with the same set of personal information belonging to that individual. Reconsent also in the case where you had taken consent of a child and now the child has grown up, so you don't need to get consent from him directly. The minor consent was given by the parent or the legal guardian. The purpose of taking the consent, the validity of the consent, which is very important, and immutable logs with respect to all of the transactions that we talk about the consent. We also talked about standardizing and easily retrieving the consents and logs of standardization and retrievability of the consents. We saw a real world life cycle view. We took a banking example. We said that marketing agents or partners do lead generation for the bank, capture customer information, and for the customer to get offers, you need a consent. Right? And we also spoke about in the banking example that bank is no more just a bank account. Bank is associated with brokers to give you investments, stock market, insurance, loans, a lot of variety of financial services. So the traditional bankers are now more than bankers. They are financial services companies. Whenever you onboard a customer, you need a consent for processing their information, and then that consent would get shared across the departments in your organization. Finally, a correct, legitimate way of revoking or closing the consent taken from an individual. We talked about the flow with respect to the consent involving APIs as well. A e-commerce app collects consent through a capture API. The partner associated, whether it's the part of the organization or a third party, they check the status that the consent has been received. They have an access to it. They also check the status when the consent has been withdrawn. And a revocation API is another API. So the document talks of capture API, status check API, revocation API, and permissions API, audit API, right, which can audit the entire process happening. So a user gives a consent, it is checked, it is notified, it is revoked, it is notified, it is used, it is notified, and finally it is audited to tell you what exactly has happened, right? So this is the initial part of it. In the next video, we'll cover the remaining 5-6 things that are covered in the document. Stay tuned with my channel. We have a lot more content to come up about data privacy beyond the BRD document as well. Thank you.